Okay, so good afternoon, everybody. And after discussing the thematic concern in Arundhati Roy's novel, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness, we now are in the last part of our discussion, and we want to very quickly see symbols and motif in this novel, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness. Okay? So we have divided this among the students us to this symbol here. So we have identified some 11 important symbols here. So we'll start with the first one. Sneha will be there. Hazrat, Sarmad, Shaheed, the first symbol there.
Okay, first symbol is a husband Sarmad Shaheed. He is a holy man in the Indian Islamic tradition as the Ministry of Utmost Happiness explained. He was originally an American Jew, but he traveled to India in a pursuit of a Hindu man. He had fallen in love with converting to Islam in the process. However, he was executed for apostasy because he had begun to have religious doubts and refused to recite the Kalima when asked by the emperor. Sarmad and his Shin are symbols of the kind of love that novel celebrates, one that embraces diversity and even stems from one's own difference. Uh, Sarmad's sexuality and his unorthodox religious opinions make him a marginal or even dangerous figure in a society's eyes, but he himself welcomes all visitors to his shrine and even permits them to rewrite his story for their own comfort.
Okay, so very quickly to reference, just connect with the point that we have seen. So when we were talking about the characters, we have seen Hazrat Sarmad here in the background connection. We have seen this story also. So we know the backstory that there is a kind of a peed local shrine, but he was not actually a Muslim also. But he came in a love for a boy. What was the name of the boy? Abhay Chand was the person with whom Sarmal was in love, came, was attracted by Islam, and then was out of Islam also, but remained as a fakir, and that symbol we see in this context here. And it is like so. The symbolism of Sarmad is in a multiple way very important in this narrative. One, his own identity. He's falling in love with another boy. That is where our protagonist Anjum or Aftab also stands there. Which again is unacceptable in a society, obviously in those days also not there. Then he becomes religious and then he is out of a religion. That again becomes very significant what Arundhati Roy wants to say, that what should be the role of religion in one's life. Then he suddenly starts moving naked and starts saying that, well, why do you wear clothes and the other kinds of things that he starts talking about. And then he is sent to Aurangzeb, and he is punished. He is asked to recite a kalima. Kalima, it is not kalima. Kalima is something else, and kalima is something else. Because we will change the entire religion. We'll say kalima. Then if somebody will listen and they will say, oh, this one was killed by Aurangzeb because he was not speaking kalima, and somebody will say that see, this was Aurangzeb was so cruel that even if the person were not speaking the name of Hindu goddess, he was killing people. Somebody will make that story. It is very easy to make that story, and then you can easily read the spelling kalima as kalima, and then you will put a space also in between and make a story that Aurangzeb was so cruel that he was forcing people to say this. And then he says a very interesting theme, which is quite interestingly found in all the religions, where ultimately people would question that where is God? I have not seen God yet. Why should I believe in that? So there is no God. That is only he says la ilaha. So there is no God. And then other thing that there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is the Paygambur. He is not speaking. He says that I don't know Allah yet. How can I say that? And that is the spirit which perhaps everybody should have within themselves. That they are skeptic, they remain agnostic, remain in doubt, they remain in search of God, but they don't believe into it until and unless it is not rubru, or they do not see the God or any of those part of it. Till then, people should remain in doubt, and they should be in that quest, which is a necessary quest. And once people will develop that habit of looking at the thing, like you don't believe into things without having a kind of an experience, a kind, don't say that you see only with eyes, not necessary. Not this sensory that I test and then only I say, or I see and I believe, different kind of an experience also. But at least that wait until that, and then you try to see that how that happens. Whether you will find God or not, we don't know in that. But at least whatever other work you will do, you will not make mistakes in writing dates of the publication or finding the source of the material. At least there won't be mistakes. એટલે આપણે રોજિંદા જીવનમાં આવી નાની નાની ભૂલો ઓછી થશે. ઈશ્વર મળે કે ન મળે વાત જુદી છે. પણ બીજી જે આપણી ભૂલો થતી હોય એ કદાચ અટકી જશે આ પ્રક્રિયાથી વિચારતા થશું તો that will also be our benefit. So it becomes interesting symbol. Hazrat Sarmad remains there as a good person to remind us this. Okay, so the next symbol is old man buddy.
The next symbol is the old man. That is the man who attains celebrity status during his hunger strike at the Jannat is a symbol of the intense contemporary India is a facing. He is trapped into a rich sim, a reservoir of a public anger. With his protest against corruption in the Indian government, in the summer his his strike feeling are running especially high because so many poor people in Delhi and surrounding have been displayed as the city attempts to modernize. In the eyes of many, the man therefore comes to represent hope for India's future so much, so that we temporarily succeed in uniting people of different beliefs and backgrounds in a kind of happy meadow in which everybody, including the most corrupt, could uh, graze. Meanwhile, the old man himself began to add views that appealed to Hindu nationalists, a group of whom eventually take over the entire demonstration. The old man is a protest provides is a flower with an apparent glimpse of a utopian society, while remaining indebted to wealth, biography, his appearance underscores this tension with a picture that ought to suggest youth and hope for the future, appearing on an old and dying body.
Okay, so this symbol is representing Anna Hazare and the movement of 2011 protest, and there is interesting description of this image, this stage, which was there. And can you put this here? So this with Bharat Mata in the banner and the fast that is going on there, and well, it captured the imagination of little ones, small children, and everybody were captured by this movement. There, people used to wear this caps, small children, may Anna, and those caps, and then obviously satirically this may Anna became AAP. And then you have this Aam Admi party coming out of that, though Anna is not a part of that political party, but the fellow members who were somewhere you will find Mr. Agarwal, who is in the novel as Mr. Agarwal, and here as Kejriwal. Yeah? Here you see the picture where this. So then that all becomes well, either Agarwal or this old Gandhian, whose name is not mentioned in this. They become the symbol in this narrative. So how this image, this, though not given everything here, but again, people normally have that tendency that you have a Gandhi figure, you have seen Gandhi as doing those things, or you have a stories of Mahatma Gandhi fighting against British Raj, and this person also looks like him, and he is going on a fast, and then you think that whatever the person might be doing is true only, and then everybody agrees with that idea. So again, only the image of Gandhi has been used to see that what or how the things are going on there. Today, after few, not only today, but only just after a few years of this movement, when the entire movement uh, got success to a greater extent, and people had a people had a very bad impression and image of the UPA government, which was in power during those years, and people were so convincingly believing into all those stories that they thought that now we need to change the government, and people change the government in that dynamics also. But after that, whether what happened to corruption, what happened to Lokpal, Jan Lokpal, the bill which was necessary, the fight was for Lokpal bill also. So whether those things are there, are like Lokpal obviously says that everybody in India being in any position is questionable, and you can have a complaint against anybody under Lokpal, be it prime minister or chief minister, can come under the gamut of a complaint, and Lokpal has to take care, because some of the positions are beyond judiciary, and judiciary also cannot dictate couple of things to parliamentarian. So if parliament is making a law, it is very difficult for judiciary to say no to that law, because judiciary has to see that what parliament is making as a law is being followed in a proper way, but they do not have a control over parliament. Parliament is above judiciary as such. So who will be above these people? If they will be making some mistakes in a parliament, then there should be some system above them where people can ask them or question or do that also. And then subsequently, we have seen many a times that many of these higher offices remained beyond questions. They, in a way, said that we should not be asked. We are a great lover of this country. For us, Bharat is a Mata, and we can never go against our Mata. And in all those rhetorics, we are involved. Then we are getting substantial answers of the questions. So people do not get anything as a data, as an information, and they just have to believe that the people are doing good job because nobody is caught. Earlier things were open, so you make an RTI, you get a data, and the data says that so and so kind of a corruption has happened. Why it has happened in this way, not in that way, and then you start doubting because the government was releasing data, the information was given, so you were questioning. Now if nobody is giving the information, then how would people question those things, and how people will come to know whether things are fair? And now in a given condition, where is the old Gandhian fellow? Where is he now? Why would he not question? So that way, Arundhati Roy, obviously writing around, publishing around 2017, so she got a chance to rework on that character also. Maybe she might have got in 2011-12. I do remember very vividly that we all were impressed by Anna Hazare. We all thought that maybe you might be still little children to understand what is going on, because at early childhood it is not very easy to understand political movements, and normally we are away from political movements also. But we do remember that we were highly impressed, and whether the film stars, cricketers, they all used to go on this stage, which we have seen here earlier, under the shade of Bharat Mata, and Tiranga was the symbol, and lots of those things. So everybody, Baba Ramdev, Amir Khan, Anupam Kher, various Kumars, all kinds of, they all got some kind of thing, day and night, people with candles, Jan Lokpal Bel, as we see there, people are there, so very convincing, these things. little kids. Such a huge movement. People normally started saying that this is another freedom that India is getting. This is our another freedom and all those things. Young people, they all thought that we are not a part of that freedom struggle, which we have studied only in our history books. Now we got a golden opportunity to be a part of that freedom and let us make India free again. All people, young and old, children, they all were a part of that. And this movement still needs to be metaphorically presented in various ways in our literature. It should be presented, and it is good that uh, uh, Arundhati Roy has brought this, which revives your memory again of those. But today only I got that Facebook memory, which I shared because that was also December, and so it was 2011. That when it was posted, that Tiranga and the people, and that person perhaps was, I think, it looks like either Prashant Bhushan or this Sisodia, who is the education minister in our party, or Prashant Bhushan, who were all the part of that movement there. People were, this all things which we remember about this movement which comes here, and this becomes a symbol there. What is so interesting to see is that when we require still the Gandhi image to fight with the corruption, and once we get that, we think that now things are done. Well, things are not done like that. Things will change, but it will become utterly corrupt society or a different way, wherein you at that time you were freely able to post anything, you were able to abuse your prime minister, you were able to raise questions and openly stand against somebody who is doing dharna against government of India and the prime minister of India, and everybody were happily becoming a part of opposing government of India and the prime minister of India, everything happily doing, and people were appreciating that. Now suddenly that is lost. Now you do not find. Now if you will have a genuine complaint and you will say, if that complaint is against government, somebody from your circle will oppose you. Those people will not have to come to punish you. Your own people will punish you. Your uncles and aunties will punish you. They will make such an argument that you will be baffled. That how to answer this? How to? This is genuine issue, but these people say it is not an issue at all. So how do you deal? So that is something very complex to understand. Now, in this moment, even perhaps Gandhi cannot save us. From this, perhaps even Gandhi also cannot save us, because there are people who were with Gandhi. They thought that Gandhi will liberate us from British Raj. Now there are more people who are with the Raj, with the power, and that is a very complex situation, which is rarely seen in the history of human beings. And when you see a lot many people with power, and they complain about power, then they are hunted, haunted. Then you remember the regimes of Hitler or the Russian communist, those regimes, only, or today's China, only those very rigid regimes only come in the mind. When you remember that when it was earlier, how was the thing? Then that is how you see those things. So that is where the symbol of Anna Hazare becomes very interesting to see in this novel.
Yes, the Shiraz cinema. It is a symbol of Indian imperialism in Kashmir. In fact, this was why it was initially shut down by the Allah Tigers, a group of Muslim Kashmiri separatists who had cinema hall were un-Islamic and vehicle of India's cultural aggression. The Ministry of Utmost Happiness has limited sympathy for this kind of fundamentalist interpretation of Islam. The existence of a movie theater in Kashmir does speak to the extent to which India has adopted and announced Western culture. The theater therefore both illustrates the relationship between cultural imperialism and military imperialism, while also demonstrating the dangers of extremism. By shutting the Shiraz cinema down, the separatists created a much more serious problem than the one they had faced to begin with.
Yes, so this is a very interesting way of looking at this idea. Again, this is a place which we have not seen earlier in our story, Shiraz cinema hall. So, militants shutting down a cinema, thinking that this is a cultural war with India and Indian cinema. When they are released, people get attached with Indian heroes and heroines, and with that ethos of India, which is by and large a Hindu ethos, and will portray religion in a particular way. Uh, though the reality is there that Indian cinema had remained very secular for so many years, and had always tried to portray all the religions simultaneously in a significant way. Minority religions were also given interesting space in our songs, in our films. Things started changing after insurgency. That is, after 1990s, things started changing a lot, and then you started seeing a Muslim as villains, or a Kashmiri Muslim as a villain, and that all started happening a lot. But beyond that, there was a very interesting space. The situation in cinema, which was very bad during 1947, where the new country is coming in the name of religion, Pakistan, and then the people who opted to live in India was a very difficult time for them, because people would easily say that if you want to be a Muslim, go to Pakistan. There is a country for you now. Why don't you go there? But many people thought that it's not a religion, but we are attached with this country. This is our motherland. This is here where our forefathers have lived, and we want to live here. We don't believe in this idea about the nation which is building in the name of religion. And many opted to stay here, but the time was not obviously good for those. So if we come back to cinema, then we find that during those years, the film stars were not able to use Muslim names. They have to adopt Hindu names. So whether it is Madhubala, a very popular female star, or it is Dilip Kumar, they all have to opt for a Hindu name. And many, even Johnny Lever and so many Muslims were there, but they all were not having a cinema presence as a Muslim, but as a Hindu. And then we moved out of that, and then we had a time where Muslims came as Muslims, and people loved also. We had almost more than 2 decades where the trio of Khans, the trio of Khan ruled over the things. Okay, I think it is. Let me bring that. Okay, I will see that. Let me complete this. So this trio of Khans, they ruled popularly over the cinema as Khan only, with their Muslim identities. They lived there in a subsequent way. Now, so to say that what this Allah Tigers or this extremists or insurgents who were believing in this idea that Indian cinema will do this or that, it is a cultural intrusion, and so it will be wrong, was a very wrong idea. Actually, whenever people try to do these kinds of things and they shut down theaters or cinema halls, they have their own vested interest in that, and they will carry out those things. એ એક સંકુચિતતાની શરૂઆત છે, અને એ પછી તમારા લોકો ઉપર જ એટલી સંકુચિતતા લાદી દેશે કે it will be difficult for you to live in that society. I think you will remember that earlier in Puritan regime, theaters were shut down. In England, Puritan regime, theaters were shut down there also. So obviously you will see that there is this or that, but as soon as that happens, the people with historical sense will say that these people are dangerous, who are shutting down theaters, who are shutting down cinema halls. They are the real danger rather than the other people. So this way, so there is a problem with Islamic, this Kashmiri insurgents or terror groups also. They have read things in a very wrong way, or they were driven by Islamic religion in such a way that it was not possible to explain them the right things. And many young Kashmiris were driven by those ideas in that way also. You got the battery also is there? So that is one point of this. We'll have to, I think, start also. And then the point, this that military imperialism, which is what becomes very interesting symbol in this military imperialism. So shutting down the theater by terror group, and then what was that theater used for? What was there going on in this cinema halls when they were not running films? What was happening? They became interrogation center for the Indian army. It became interrogation center. So it was the place where now the Kashmiri young people are caught and interrogated in those theaters. So once you go to Shiraz cinema, you are caught there because rarely that you will come back. You will be bitten. You may be killed also. You never know what happens once you are there. So such interrogation centers were run by military. Now that has it has turned into those things. If you remember film Heather film, if you see, then there also the interrogation scene is happening in cinema, in a cinema hall. The same thing is used in that film also. But then we always see that that is where the mistakes that people do, shutting down of theaters or cinema, that is a different form of atrocity on their own people. And then the things go very badly wrong for everybody. Okay, next one is this. Next, you can start. Next.
Jannat guest house and a funeral parlor. It begins as a shaker conjunct for herself while living in the old Muslim cemetery, but slowly expanding in both size and function. She built additional room around the graves. She eventually transformed part of the house into a funeral parlor for those whom other cemetery reject. At the end, Jannat Guest House is also a home to Tilo and Miss Jalen II, people of all religious ethnicities, gender, caste, etc. Jannat guest house proximity to death is significant. Anjum and Saddam Hussein existed. It symbolizes of paradise in spiritual sense.
Okay, let me just adjust this. We have already seen this couple of times about Jannat guest house. So we have referred to Jannat guest house in earlier also funerally and other things also. So I think it is quite clear for us to understand what does it stand symbolically for in the thematic study on nature of paradise. We have seen that also earlier. Boundaries between death and life also we have seen this symbol of Jannat thing. Okay, so next is Duniya and Jannat. Yes.
Duniya and Jannat. So Arundhati Roy used very significantly this term. With the help of this term, Duniya and Jannat also function as a motive through which Roy explored the question of happiness, life, and death. Dunya originally appears as the term of her novels for hijrah, used to refer to life outside the Kaaba, and the term simply means a word. Jannat, meanwhile, is the name Anjuman gave to her house in the cemetery and translate as a paradise. And the two words refer a function to some extent as opposite in the novel, with a place like a Jannat guest house and the Khabgah existing as a utopian bubbles outside the horror and the violence of the real world. Indian society as a whole. Like a life and death, however, the term aren't
entirely the opposite. They are first scenes. In Revati's letter, for example, Roy plays with an idea that has reoccurred throughout the novel, and that plays like a kwabga are necessary for those who can't live in the world as it is. Revati claims something similar and saying she cannot live outside her home in a forest, but in her case, paradise is just as a violence and frightening as the world outside. Revati is the Maoist guerrilla fighter fighting against the government force that are burying, killing, raping poor people in the jungle region of Dandakaranya. And Amrik Singh also blurred the line between the paradise and reality by claiming the nickname Jannat Express and joking that by killing a Kashmir militant, he is merely facilitating their journeys to heaven.
Yes. So we have seen earlier also Duniya and Jannat in the thematic study also. Two more references are coming here, and that is Revati's and Amrik Singh's reference also as an illustration that comes. So for Revati, who is a Maoist guerrilla and fighting against the security forces, for her, paradise also is as bad as hell, where there is a fire and burning and other thing also. How? Why would she think about it in that way? Because when there is a negotiation between this Maoist guerrilla fighters and the mainstream government and the people, or the officials who are having negotiation, they obviously will use this metaphor that you come back to our mainstream life and we will make your life like a heaven, life in heaven. We will have schools, we will have jobs for you, you will have a proper house, it will be like heaven. So for Revati, that heaven is equally bad, where is torturous life and other things are there. And Amrik Singh makes a very popular idea of normally what people believe, or the Bollywood film also uses that idea that you will send this terrorist to Jannat, where let us send them, so let us kill them, and let us book a bogie for them in Jannat Express. Let them go to Jannat. So that is killing idea that Amrik Singh is utilizing here. Okay, so the next point is motherhood.
Yes. Motherhood is a major motive in the Ministry of Utmost Happiness, where it helps illuminate both the novel's personal and social concern. Motherhood is a charged issue for most of the novel's characters, though not necessarily for the same reason. The only major character who desires motherhood in a straightforward way is Anju, but her biological inability to bear a child and later her traumatic experience in a Gujarat throughout his desire for much of the novel. To understand why motherhood is so complex an issue in Roy's novel, it is helpful to bear in mind that Indian nationalism has often described the country as a mother goddess in the Hindu tradition. Most of the novel's characters, however, are not part of this tradition and are in fact often persuaded by it. Anjum, for instance, is made to chant victory to Mother India, salute the mother, by the writers who nearly killed her. Motherhood then is a complicated and identity for characters like Anjum and Tilo as an Indian is. Nevertheless, the two women's eventual adoption of Miss Zibi II, as well as the unconventional roles they each play in parenting her, is a sign that it may be possible to define motherhood and Indian nationality in the less rigid and uh, more ways.
Inclusive ways, yeah. Okay, so in a more inclusive way. Yeah? So that's very interesting way. Huh? This idea about motherhood is coming. Obviously, the little baby at the end of the novel has six fathers and three mothers. Yeah? That's how it ends. And the three mothers are Revati, the biological mother, Udaya Zebin's mother. Yes, Revati, the another one, Tilotama, who abducted her and wanted to rear her, and ultimately Anjum becomes the third mother. But that's a very good idea, that one cannot be a mother biologically, but still there is that spirit of motherhood in Anjum or Tilotama, who are not mother, and the one who is a mother is actually not caring for a child and leaves the child all alone and goes for her motherland, to fight for her motherland and to die for her motherland, leaving the child. So you see complexity of motherhood there. But apart from this, there is another idea that is about Bharat Mata. And this, in the name of Bharat Mata or Bharat Mata ki Jai, what kind of atrocities people do. So they keep on chanting the slogans of Bharat Mata ki Jai, and then they kill people who are also, in metaphorical way, children of Bharat Mata, citizens of India. But they will kill the people in the name of that. And that idea, that victory to Mother India, salute the mother, Bharat Mata ki Jai, that is there. So it reminds us of this iconoclasm of Bharat Mata. Obviously, even if you see the English version, Mother India, a very interesting concept and a very interesting film also based on this idea, Mother India. And even when you look at this idea of Mother India, that what is this motherhood of India that is represented in this film? What is this film talking about? That what are those virtues and characteristics of Mother India, or how people were seeing this 1957. You are just a decade out of your freedom struggle, and lots of things are going on, right and wrong. At that time, how the filmmaker visualized the idea of Mother India, Bharat Mata. So we find that this lady who struggles a lot. There are people, there are banyas who do who grab their land by giving money, and then the interest of the money is never ending, and the poor people have to sell their land. So that way the mother struggles. The husband is dead. She has to plow the land. Her પોતાને ખંભે લેવું પડે અને દીકરાના ખંભે અને ખેતી એ રીતે કરતી હોય. So this is the Mother India who is a farmer and struggling to farm the land and livelihood there. And then after those all struggles which are wherein the villains are not coming anywhere from outside, because just 10 years back Gora has left, and Gora idea or the white people is an easy villain for you to talk about your India. You can say that my Mother India, my Bharat Bhumi has been battered and shattered by the white people. Very easy to go. But why this film is a classic film? It doesn't go into that cheap nationalism, but says that now I have my own problem. It is my own people who are now exploiting my mother, my own people whose interest is never ending, whose money mindedness is never ending, and you have to sell your land, you have to sell your mother land to come out from those debt that is created there. That is that struggle now. It is not to blame the white people, but your own people are there now to sort it out. And then it is not only the outside people, it is not only the people who live in a village or those who are there, but there is a problem in your home also. You have two sons, and one is very badmash. You have two sons and one is badmash. Now what will this mother do? Mother obviously is there to take care of both the sons. And normally it happens that the badmash is more loved by the people rather than the good fellow. But here, ultimately at the end, mother kills that naughty child, whose son is a naughty fellow, who is a grown-up one. They are not children, means not well, but they are very grown-up adult people. And then the ultimate choice that the mother has to make is to kill his son who is doing wrong. Now that is where the idea stands, that when you see your own people doing something wrong, Bharat Mata will kill them. Mata there to make atrocity on the innocent people. We are using chanting Bharat Mata. If you remember 1957, this Bharat Mata, then obviously we'll say that this Bharat Mata will kill these people who in the name of Bharat Mata are killing other people. So that was that ideal, that the liar son, the wrongdoer is not tolerated by mother, and mother's choice ultimately will be to kill that. And we have cultivated this idea of mother in our Bollywood cinema to a greater extent. Maybe not because our mothers are really like this. When you look at the real mothers, then these mothers are not like this. I have seen many mothers who would say that that if their children, when they are in 10th or 12th standard, and if they are cheating, the mothers will not scold them. Very rarely you will find that mothers would say that, well, you should not cheat in exam. Mothers will say you should get good result by any way, by this or the another way, try to get a good result. That is what the mothers normally would say. Or you don't rarely find a mother scolding their children for doing wrong things. Rarely. If you find those mothers, it is good. But it is very, very rare to see that their sons are so loud that they are ready to pardon the wrongdoers rather than this. In this, the Bollywood mother, in film Diwar also, the mother goes with the good son, not with the bad son. So that's why the good son will say, मेरे पास माँ है, तुम्हारे पास माँ नहीं है, तुम्हारे पास गाड़ी है, बंगला है, अब तुम्हारे पास मर्सिडीज भी है, लेकिन मेरे पास माँ है. So that was that idea of माँ, which was an imaginary idea, not a real. Real mother will go with the son with Mercedes. Will not never tell that why Mercedes, why there are so many people poor, why so many clothes. We had an ideal. Maybe Mahatma Gandhi was so far looking to see, he was in suit and boot on his own money. He was suited, booted. If you see early photographs of Mahatma Gandhi, then he was wearing suit. He was working in Africa. And when he has seen poor people of India, he left his suit and boot. And his suit suit was not coming from taxpayers' money. It was coming from his own pocket. Then also he left and he came on pottery. And he said that I can't wear three-piece suits because my people, Indians, it's not his people also yet, because India is not his country. He is not Rashtrapita also. So it is just people, Indians, they do not have clothes to wear. How can I wear so many clothes, even if it is coming from my own pocket, not from taxpayers' money or any other thing? So that ideal, that Gandhi, now obviously Gandhi disturbed many people when you remember Gandhi as a ruler and the other people who changes clothes so many times a day. So then obviously it is disturbing. You have to kill Gandhi somewhere. You have to make Nathuram Godse a nation lover. You have to say that he was a great nationalist. Without that, you can't do what you want to do. There is a purpose in killing Gandhi. Purpose in now destroying the idea of Gandhi, and that we can see. But Bollywood had captured this idea of mother, which was not a real mother, but an idea that Mother India is this. Mother India is happy if you are good. Mother India will be unhappy if you are bad. If you are a children of Mother India, then you are supposed to see the things in that way. So this Mother idea of Bharat Mata, if you see, then this was the first picture of Bharat Mata in painting. India as mother, it has a very interesting story also, that people are not seeing India as one mother or Mata. Stri and Mata tarike જોવાની શરૂઆત ક્યાંથી થઈ એનું પહેલું ચિત્ર આવું બને છે. It is something like this. First time we have visualized this in this term. And then slowly and steadily, you can just go through the painter and the history of this. And then the shape of Bharat Mata kept on changing. And now we have this way, that is a saffron color, Brihad Bharat Naksha in the background, where from Kandahar of Afghanistan to the entire eastern region, that we have think that it is all India, and Bharat Mata rules over all this region. The imaginary India, which we think that one day again we will be the ruler of all this, Sri Lanka and all these countries will be part of this India. And that is that idea of India, which is now being flaunted a lot. There was no lion, and then there is a lion there, which gives the aggression to the very idea of Bharat Mata, very aggression. So how things change in different way. That also is a very interesting story when we refer to this here. So this motherhood idea, but how it expands from the biological motherhood to the idea of nation as a mother, which is becoming a very complex phenomenon for us here. Okay, quickly to the next point. Body's refuse and internal organs.
Yes, sir. Bodies refuse and internal organs. Bodies and the waste they produce are literally imaged in this novel, The Ministry of Utmost Happiness. And there is the reference of scheduled classes that we are officially known for Dalits. They are at the bottom of the caste of pyramids. In Roy's novel, Saddam Hussein is a member of this caste, and the difficulties of his positions are further exacerbated by the fact that his family disposes of dead cows, a scared animal in Hinduism. So, partly because of this cultural context, Roy often uses waste as a way of symbolizing resistance of the status quo. And then the episode of Anjum, that Anjum sat down under a street light with her eyes fixed on her mother. She peed and then lifted her bottom to marvel at the night sky and the stars and the 1,000 year old city reflected in the puddle she had made. So the point here isn't so much a disrespect or mock the 1,000 year old city by depicting it in a puddle of urine, but rather to suggest that the city and country's future lie in what has historically been considered unclean and unimportant. That is, people like Udaya Jevin herself. And then a reference of Roy's account to Musa's experience while training as a guerrilla fighter. At night, fed up with the regime of silence, his organs murmured to each other in the language of night crickets. His sling contacted his kidney, his pancreas whispered across the silent void to his lungs. Are you still there? So the kind of alienation from oneself Roy describes here is an extreme form of the inner strife she explored throughout the novels. In this and similar basis, characters are so divided and traumatized that even the different organs inside them seem incapable of working in tandem with one another. Then Red Court and emperors who had ruled from it, Shah Jafar and last Mughal who was sent into exile by the British after the failed uprising of 1857. The, the show symbolizes the impermanence of even most official and widely accepted story and illustrates the way in which stories are continually rewritten to further various agents. The vulture animals in general figure heavily in the ministry of utmost happiness, but the vulture are used to live in Delhi's Muslim cemetery, cemetery hold significance. As Roy explained in the novel's prologue, these vultures were an unintended causality of modernization, having died out as a result of ingesting diclofenac medication used to increase milk production and meet the growing demand for dairy products. In this way, the vulture symbolize and foreshadow all other groups whose existence is threatened by the social and economical changes underway in contemporary India. Thank you.
So we have referred to many things, passing reference to many things, and that comes together in a different way here, like bodies, refuse. Refuse means vestige, vestige. That is refuse, and the internal organs of bodies, and the vestige of those things. So that is referred at repeatedly there. Vulture sign that we have seen at the end, one who eats the body or body organ, the vestige of the body, the dead body, which is done, but that also is now dying very fast there. Okay? And the reference to internal organs fighting among themselves, as if the liver is having a fight with spleen and other things also. So that is Arundhati Roy uses this body image to display internal conflict and other things also there. Okay, so let this be the last for the day. Monday we will see this remaining one when we refer this there. Though we have discussed this earlier, so it can be understandable. But still, if there is any concern, then Monday we will have a look at the remaining symbols also. So I hope with this, our understanding of this novel is very clear in everybody's mind, from theme to character to storyline to symbolism that is used in the narrative design there. Okay, so we end our class here with this.